The Knight Calvary are similar to the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings, patrolling various locations and attacking the player on sight with either a glaive or a flail while riding a giant black steed. And with an extremely popular weapon at our disposal, but no horse to complete the fashion, are we able to still effectively fight against enemies and players? Well, like the video and give it to me bite size. So starting off, we have the Knight Calvary set, which has brilliant defense all around, especially in the physical department, and 53 poise, which is what I like to see. They wield two weapons, with the first being the Knight Rider Glaive. This is a very popular weapon I see being used often in the arena, and it's no surprise considering the length, moveset, and damage output, alongside a variety of weapon arts you can slap on. I've infused it with quality and kept the weapon art as default, although if you were using the glaive on its own, then a heavy infusion would be better. This weapon also benefits from bonus damage on horseback if you like to joust enemies on torrent. Then our Knight Rider Flail has a dexterity requirement, so it's better suited for Keen, which is why I've opted for a quality build, and we can benefit from passive bleed build up, but I can't infuse this weapon as the weapon art spinning chain isn't available as a standalone Ash of War, meaning I can't put a Keen infusion on without swapping the skill out for something that's actually obtainable. And then we have our stats with a nice split between strength and dexterity on the level 137 Vagabond. And then taking this out for a test drive, these weapons will operate differently depending on where you use them, but we have a nice combination of the slower but longer thrusting glaive and the quicker but shorter flail, giving us some variety in how we fight. In PvE, the fantastic reach and damage of the glaive will help you keep a safe distance while dishing out damage to enemies, especially if doing open world mounted combat, with the drawback being the overhead swings and the weapon art being a tad slow, outdone by the regular attacks. But the flail is a PvE powerhouse with its weapon art spinning chain, capable of melting enemies when you stand underneath their crotch for continuous damage, alongside benefiting from that passive bleed build up. This is super useful against big enemies who don't move around much, and the regular swings are a nice addition, but it's twirl that flail and watch the enemy scream. And then in PvP, our glaive will give us access to brilliant running thrust and backstep attacks that have brilliant range and damage, but disappointing overhead swings, which add some variety to our moveset, but are a bit too slow for my liking. The rolling attacks are super good, but our weapon art is slow and easily read, with low damage output resulting in a weapon that's better at thrusting to win. And the flail is a quicker alternative that has decent damage output, but suffers from being a single flail that pales in comparison to the boss's bigger and blacker variety, looking more like a great flail than our tiny noodle. It's going to be really neat if we could power stance these for a better moveset, but on its own, it's okay, although the weapon art is a bit too slow to be useful in actual PvP. But of course, we have some setbacks with our setup, mainly our lack of ranged options, meaning we have to constantly chase players around the arena, and a disappointing set of weapon arts that don't really patch our weaknesses very well. But fortunately, the Knight Calvary has us covered with some fantastic gear to really boost our playstyle. I'll infuse my Knight Rider Glaive with fire and give it the weapon art Phantom Slash. This will summon another Knight Rider to mimic our dash and slash towards an enemy at medium range, which can be followed up with an overhead swing. I'll add another Knight Rider Flail and give one of them Barbaric Roar and the other one Bloodhound Step, infusing both with cold. For my talismans, I'll opt for the Shard of Alexander, the Bull Goat's Talisman, Erdtree Favor +2 and the Green Turtle Talisman, with updated stats for this improved version of the build, putting a bigger emphasis on strength on the level 137 Vagabond. And these changes will take this build to a completely different level, as our Knight Rider Glaive will dish out far more damage on a fire infusion, but our skill Phantom Slash is S tier, capable of doing nearly 1000 damage if both strikes land, alongside brilliant roll catch potential, and capable of striking enemies even if you get staggered, as the Phantom is independent from the player. The flails have fast rolling and jumping guard attacks, which are useful for building up that frost burst of damage, alongside benefiting from that bleed build up, and Barbaric Roar will give us strength scaling, bonus physical damage, and an altered heavy attack that comes with brilliant hyper armor. This will be useful for finishing off enemies at close range or dishing out damage by trading attacks in certain circumstances, and also building up that frost status. And this will plug our weaknesses by providing us with a quick close range attack that applies pressure through frost build-up, alongside medium and longer range strikes and slashes that can safely dispatch enemies, roll catch, or trade for damage, resulting in a build that's pretty damn strong. But a picture tells 1,000 words, so I'll leave you with some arena battles and a boss fight so you can see the build in action, but of course leave your comments below and subscribe. This is Bite Sized Otaku, and I hope you enjoyed.